Don't quit. You're closer than you think. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, but nothing is happening? Like you're putting in the time, the effort, the prayers, and still the door won't open? You start thinking, maybe this just isn't meant for me. But let me tell you something. The hardest part of the journey is always right before the breakthrough. That feeling of being stuck, tired, and ready to quit. It's not a sign that you should stop. It's a sign that you're close. Real close. Closer than you think. The moment you feel like giving up is usually the moment right before something shifts. It's strange how life works like that. You push, you climb, you fight, and just when it seems like nothing is happening, the pressure builds to a point where quitting feels like the only option. But here's what most people don't realize. That's the moment when the breakthrough is often just around the corner. That's the place where dreams are either dropped or delivered. The problem is most people don't hang on long enough to see the results of what they've worked for. They let the exhaustion talk louder than their purpose. They let disappointment drown out their discipline. They forget how far they've come because they can't yet see how close they are. So many dreams die not because they weren't possible, but because someone gave up too soon. The vision was real. The talent was there. The opportunity was forming. But when the results didn't show up on their schedule, they walked away. And the saddest part, many of them were just one more try away, one more conversation, one more step, one more sleepless night. That close. But they never knew it because they quit in the dark without realizing the light was about to break. Breakthrough doesn't announce itself ahead of time. It doesn't give you a heads up that it's coming. It just shows up after you've proven that you can handle the weight of the weight. It shows up when you've pushed through the silence, the frustration, and the tears. It shows up when you've chosen to believe in your purpose, even when you couldn't see the evidence. You have to trust the process, not just when it feels good, but especially when it doesn't. That's when the test is real. That's when the transformation is happening. The enemy of success isn't always failure, it's fatigue. It's that slow erosion of your energy and hope over time. The deadlines you missed, the people who didn't support you, the times you gave it your all and got nothing in return. That wears you down. But fatigue is not a reason to quit. It's a reason to refuel. To step back, catch your breath, and then get back in the fight. Because what you're fighting for is worth it. It's bigger than the moment you're in. It's tied to your purpose, your calling, your future. Look at the journey you've already walked. Look at what you've survived. All those times you felt like you wouldn't make it. But you did. That wasn't luck. That was strength. That was grit. That was purpose pulling you through. And if you made it through those moments, you can make it through this one too. Don't let your current struggle cause you to forget your past resilience. You're built for this. You're closer than you think. Closer to the opportunity. Closer to the relationship. Closer to the breakthrough you've been praying for. The discomfort you're feeling right now isn't the end. It's the pressure of the door beginning to open. The resistance means you're in the right place. If there was nothing on the other side, you wouldn't feel this stretched. You wouldn't feel this tested. You're in the final miles of a long race, and everything in you is screaming to stop. But that's exactly when champions push through. This is not the time to quit. This is not the time to back down. This is the time to dig deep, remember why you started, and push like your life depends on it. Because in a way it does. Your dream is depending on you. Your future is depending on you. And the people who are going to be inspired by your victory They're depending on you too. Hold on. You're closer than you think. Struggles are not proof that you should stop. They're signs that you're on the path that matters. When you're facing setbacks, delays, or unexpected challenges, it's easy to believe that something's wrong. That maybe you're off course. That maybe it's not meant to be. But that mindset is exactly what stops most people from ever reaching their potential. The truth is, anything worth having is going to come with resistance. Growth doesn't come in comfort. Purpose doesn't show up in ease. If everything were smooth and easy, everyone would be walking in greatness. But it's the struggle that separates the ones who want it from the ones who are ready for it. Every time life pushes back, it's not pushing you away, it's pushing you to grow. That problem that keeps showing up might be building patience in you. That delay might be stretching your faith. That failure might be teaching you what doesn't work, so you can get closer to what does. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. You just have to change the way you look at the process. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Because there's always something to learn when you're in the fire. And if you're willing to endure it, there's also something powerful waiting on the other side. People want the prize, but not the pressure. They want the blessing, but not the burden. They want the promise, but not the process. But it's in the process that you become who you were designed to be. Success is not just about what you get. It's about what you become in the process of getting it. The pain, the frustration, the fight, they're not distractions. They're development. They're making you stronger. They're making you wiser. They're making you ready. So when the moment does come, you can handle it, hold it, and honor it the right way. There's something powerful about someone who refuses to give up, even when it gets hard. That kind of person becomes unstoppable, not because they have all the answers, but because they've made a decision not to be defined by what's happening around them. They know the storm may rage, but it won't sink them. They understand that the delay isn't the end. It's just a detour. And even in the dark, they keep walking because they know the light is coming. That's the mindset you have to carry when things get hard. Not one of defeat, but one of determination. Not one of fear, but one of fire. Every struggle you're facing is shaping you into the version of yourself that can handle the next level. If you were already ready, you'd already be there. So the very fact that it's taking time, the very fact that you're having to fight, is proof that something greater is being built inside you. You're not behind. You're being developed. You're not forgotten. You're being formed. And when the time is right, what's yours will find you. Not because you stumbled into it, but because you stuck with it when everything in you wanted to quit. So stop letting the struggle make you question your purpose. Let it confirm it. Let it remind you that you're on the right path. The resistance is a sign that you're moving in the right direction. The fact that it's hard means it's worth it. Easy things don't grow you. Comfortable things don't change you. You've got to be willing to fight for what matters. And when the time comes, you'll realize that everything you went through had a reason, a lesson, and a reward. Just don't give up now. You're being prepared for something bigger than you can imagine. There's a dangerous trap a lot of people fall into when things get hard. They let how they feel in the moment determine the direction of their life. You feel frustrated, so you quit. You feel afraid, so you stop. You feel unworthy, so you shrink back. But emotions, while real, are temporary. They come and go. They rise and fall. And if you let those temporary emotions drive permanent decisions, You'll abandon dreams that were meant for you. You'll walk away from opportunities that were already in motion. You'll cancel blessings that were waiting just on the other side of your endurance. That's why you have to learn to feel your emotions without obeying them. You can be tired and still keep going. You can be discouraged and still show up. You can be afraid and still take that step. Strength is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about refusing to let your feelings control your future. There's nothing wrong with crying. There's nothing wrong with being upset. But the key is to not let those moments stop your momentum. You're allowed to rest, but you're not allowed to give up. You're allowed to pause, but not to park permanently in the pit of discouragement. Think about how many people have missed out on their breakthrough because they quit on a bad day. They threw in the towel when all they really needed was a timeout. They made a permanent decision over something that would have passed if they had just held on a little longer. That's how success escapes people. Not because they didn't have what it takes, but because they surrendered to a moment instead of standing on their mission. Life will test you with emotions before it blesses you with results. You'll be challenged with doubt, fear, anxiety, and uncertainty. But none of that means the dream is dead. It just means you're human. Emotions don't always tell the truth. Sometimes they lie to you. Sometimes they say, "You're not enough," when you've already come farther than most people ever will. Sometimes they say, "It's too late," when you're just getting started. You've got to recognize those moments for what they are, temporary waves. And your job is not to drown in them, but to ride them out until the water's calm. This is why mental toughness matters. It's not just about pushing through when you feel strong. It's about pushing through when everything in you feels weak. You don't get to control everything that happens, but you do get to control how you respond. That's power. That's discipline. That's growth. And that's how you win. Not by feeling good every day, but by staying committed even when the feelings are gone. The most successful people are not always the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who refused to quit when they felt like giving up. They're the ones who walked through the fire, not because they liked it, but because they believed something better was on the other side. They understood that emotions are indicators, not dictators. You listen to them, but you don't bow to them. You feel them, but you don't follow them off a cliff. You can make it through the storm you're in. But you've got to anchor yourself to your vision, not your emotions. The emotions will pass. The pain will ease. The confusion will clear. But if you quit, you may never get another shot at what was waiting for you. Don't let the weight of a temporary moment stop you from carrying the greatness you were born to live. You are not what you feel. You are what you believe. And if you believe there's something greater ahead, then you owe it to yourself to keep walking until you find it. Sometimes, the best thing you can do when you feel like quitting isn't to keep pushing harder. It's to pause, catch your breath, and come back stronger. There is no shame in needing rest. There is no weakness in stepping back for a moment. What's dangerous is mistaking that rest for resignation. People confuse a pause with a full stop. But those are two completely different things. Rest is strategic. It's how you refuel. It's how you make sure you don't burn out before the blessing arrives. Quitting, on the other hand, is surrendering your future because of how the present feels. And that decision can cost you everything you've worked for. Life has a way of throwing weight on you. Responsibilities, setbacks, stress, it all adds up. And if you keep pushing without giving yourself space to recharge, you're going to crash. The key is knowing the difference between being tired and being done. Being tired is normal. We all hit those walls. We all have days where the motivation is gone, the excitement is drained, and the results aren't showing. That doesn't mean you're supposed to give up. It means you need to rest so you can get your strength back. Because what's waiting for you on the other side of that fatigue is worth fighting for. Champions know how to rest without quitting. They understand that in order to finish strong, you have to refuel along the way. You can't run full speed all the time without running yourself into the ground. The problem is, we live in a world that glorifies the grind and ignores the burnout. People wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, but the truth is, your body, your mind, and your spirit need time to reset. Rest isn't lazy, it's preparation. It's the pit stop that makes sure your engine doesn't blow before you cross the finish line. Let's get one thing straight. Walking away from the race is not the same as sitting down to tie your shoes. You can pause. You can breathe. You can even cry, but you do not quit. You do not pack it up and say it's over just because you're tired. You take that break, you get your mind right, and then you stand back up and get back in the game. You owe it to your purpose. You owe it to the version of you that started this journey with a dream in their heart and fire in their soul. That person deserves to see what's on the other side of this battle. There will be moments where quitting seems easier than continuing. That's when you remind yourself of the why. Why did you start this? Why did you believe in it enough to go all in? That reason is still valid. That reason still matters. And if you walk away now, you may never know what you were just steps away from reaching. You might have been one more try, one more decision, one more day away from the breakthrough you've been praying for. Don't let temporary exhaustion make you throw away a permanent calling. The most powerful people aren't the ones who never get tired. They're the ones who know how to manage that tiredness. They step away to rest, but they never step out of the race. They hit pause not because they're weak, but because they're wise. Because they understand that rest is part of the process. It's not a detour. It's a discipline. One that allows you to keep going long after others have quit. So if you're worn down, if you're feeling heavy, if you're on the edge of letting go, rest. But don't quit. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, get some sleep, find your peace. And when the strength comes back, and it will, you pick yourself up and keep walking. Because what's waiting for you is still waiting. And you're closer than you think. There's something powerful that happens when you start looking back at everything you've already come through. Too often, we get so focused on where we're not yet that we forget where we've been. We let the frustration of the current moment erase the memory of our past victories. But if you really take a moment to reflect, you'll realize that you've already survived things you once thought would break you. You've already overcome days, seasons, and situations where you felt like giving up, but you didn't. And that strength, that resilience, that's still in you. It didn't leave. It didn't fade. It's just buried under the pressure of what you're facing right now. But if you dig deep and remember your journey, you'll realize you've got more fight left than you think. Sometimes you need to remind yourself, I've been through worse and made it out. I've cried and still kept going. I've lost and still rebuilt. I've failed and still stood back up. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That's purpose in motion. That's the kind of fire that trials can't extinguish. That's evidence that you're built for more than you're currently experiencing. And if you've come this far, why stop now? If you've endured the worst days and still kept breathing, you owe it to yourself not to quit when you're this close to what you've been praying and working for. Your past isn't just something you survived, it's proof of your power. It's a testimony that you're stronger than your fear, more determined than your doubt, and more capable than your current circumstances might suggest. But you've got to remember it. You've got to tap back into that version of you that didn't fold when everything was falling apart. The version of you that found a way when there was no way. That's who you are. That's who you've always been. And that's who you need to channel right now. It's easy to forget your strength when life keeps testing you. But the test is there to bring the strength back to the surface. The challenge isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to remind you of what you've got inside. That's why looking back isn't a sign of weakness. It's a strategy. Because when you remember how far you've come, you find the courage to keep going. You remember the prayers that were answered, the doors that opened, the grace that carried you, and you realize that if it happened before, it can happen again. You didn't come this far just to come this far. All that effort, all those sacrifices, all those long nights and early mornings, they weren't for nothing. They were deposits into your future. And now that you're close, now that you can feel the shift, don't let the final stretch rob you of everything you've built. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's heavy. But so were the other seasons you survived. And you're still standing. You're still here. That means you've got more in you. That means it's not over. So when doubt creeps in and tells you to quit, you talk back with your testimony. When fear whispers that it's too late, you shout back with your history. Remind yourself of the battles you've already won, and let that be your fuel. You've walked through fire and didn't burn. You've carried pain and still smiled. That's not weakness. That's purpose. That's destiny. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. And that experience is exactly what you need to finish the race. So don't fold now. Don't let the memory of who you are be erased by the lie that you can't make it. You've come too far to stop. And the same strength that brought you this far is more than enough to carry you the rest of the way. Sometimes the reason people feel like giving up is because they've been so focused on what they don't see happening, they stop believing anything ever will. They've prayed, worked, waited, and nothing seems to move. The door hasn't opened, the opportunity hasn't come, the results haven't shown up, and slowly they start to believe that maybe it never will. But just because you don't see progress doesn't mean progress isn't being made. Some of the greatest moves in life happen in silence. Seeds grow under the soil where no one sees. Foundations are laid in the dark, long before the building ever goes up. You might not see anything yet, but that doesn't mean something powerful isn't being built behind the scenes. Waiting can feel like a punishment, but it's really preparation. Delay is not denial. And the worst thing you can do is give up in the middle of your process because you misunderstood the silence. Silence doesn't mean absence. Just because your blessing hasn't arrived yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. There's a season for sowing and a season for reaping. But if you walk away during the sowing, you forfeit the harvest. Too many people dig up the seeds they planted because they didn't sprout fast enough. They think God forgot. They think the dream was fake. But what they don't realize is that the roots were growing deep so that the blessing could stand strong when it finally came. If you're in a season where nothing seems to be happening, take heart. That's often when the most is happening. You're being shaped. You're being refined. You're being prepared to handle the weight of what's coming. Because what good is a blessing if you're not ready to carry it? What good is a platform if you don't have the character to stand on it? The weight is doing something in you, not just for you. It's building wisdom. It's growing humility. It's deepening your faith. And when the time is right, it'll all come together so fast it'll feel like it happened overnight. When in reality, it's been building the whole time. You can't microwave purpose. You can't rush timing. And you definitely can't skip the process. Great things take time to develop. And the reason they last is because they were built slowly, with intention, with care. Quick success fades just as fast. But the kind of success that's built on patience, consistency, and faith, that's the kind that stands the test of time. That's the kind that changes your life. That's the kind that becomes a legacy. So don't let what you don't see make you forget what you know. You know there's something more for you. You know you're not working for nothing. You know that the dream in your heart wasn't placed there just to torment you. It was placed there to guide you, to give you something to fight for. And just because it's not here, yet doesn't mean it's not real. Some of the biggest breakthroughs come right after the biggest breakdowns. The enemy always fights hardest when you're closest to your blessing. That's why you feel like giving up. That's why everything seems so heavy right now. But that's also why you have to hold on. You've come too far. You've prayed too much. You've cried too long. There's too much purpose on your life to throw in the towel now. Stay consistent. Stay faithful. Stay ready. Because the moment will come. The door will open. The breakthrough will happen. And when it does, you'll be able to look back and say, it was all worth it. Not just because of what you received, but because of who you became along the way. That's the real reward. So keep going. Even when you don't see it, even when you don't feel it, something is happening. Something is shifting. You're closer than you think. You may not see it yet, but something powerful is unfolding in your life. Every step, every struggle, every delay, it's all part of a greater plan working in your favor. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're being prepared. So don't quit. Don't let the silence fool you or the waiting wear you down. Hold your ground, keep your faith, and keep moving forward. Because the moment you've been working for, praying for, and believing for is on the way. And when it arrives, it'll make sense why you had to endure what you did. Stay ready. Your breakthrough is closer than you think.